The twin moons of Kepri 9 hung like spectral eyes in the sky, casting an eerie silver glow over the desert world's endless dunes. Luna's ship, the Venture, landed softly on the coarse sands, its thrusters kicking up swirls of shimmering dust that sparkled under the light of the binary stars. As the engines powered down, a low hum echoed across the barren expanse, reverberating through the air like a distant chant, almost as if the planet itself were whispering secrets long forgotten. Stepping out onto the cracked surface, Luna adjusted her visor, scanning the desolate landscape. Towering obelisks protruded from the sands, their surfaces etched with unfamiliar glyphs that seemed to pulse with an internal energy. Each symbol glowed faintly as if responding to her presence. The structures were perfectly aligned in a geometric pattern that traced a vast network of ley lines across the desert floor. She pulled up a projection of the surrounding terrain on her wrist console, eyes narrowing as she traced the pattern. This wasn't just an abandoned ruin, it was a massive, sprawling machine, a temporal grid designed to channel forces far beyond anything humanity had ever understood. But the source of the transmission that had drawn her here remained elusive. The signals were fragmented, distorted by gravitational interference that twisted them into a haunting melody of static and code. It was coming from somewhere deep beneath the surface, an echo resonating from the very heart of the largest pyramid towering above her. Luna took a deep breath and began her descent into the labyrinthine passages that snaked through the base of the structure. Shadows seemed to coil around her, stretching and shifting as if the very fabric of reality was bending in response to the structure's arcane design. The walls were lined with polished stone, smooth to the touch and unnervingly warm, like living flesh. The symbols etched into them flickered intermittently, casting fleeting images of star systems, planetary alignments, and cryptic diagrams that defied interpretation. Her steps echoed through the darkness as she followed a series of interconnected chambers, each more complex and disorienting than the last. It felt as if the pyramid were alive, shifting subtly with every step, altering the paths behind her. Time and space were fluid here, bending and warping like ripples in a pond, making it nearly impossible to maintain a sense of direction. She felt it, a slight pull, a sensation of something greater than gravity tugging at her very atoms. As she turned a corner, she froze. A figure stood at the end of the corridor, bathed in the faint glow of the glyphs. Tall, shrouded in shadow, he moved with an eerie grace, his presence commanding yet elusive. His eyes glinted like twin stars, sharp, calculating. "Sefer," he said softly, as if introducing himself to the air rather than her. "The last guardian of the Ankhari." Luna narrowed her eyes, instinctively raising her guard. "You're real?" she asked, scanning him with her visor. No anomalies. His molecular structure registered as human, mostly, but there was something off. A faint temporal distortion lingered around him, like an echo of time itself clinging to his form. "Real?" He chuckled, the sound dry and brittle like sand slipping through fingers. "That depends on your definition. On Kepri 9, reality is flexible." He gestured to the chamber walls, where shifting constellations danced across the stone. "This place is more than a tomb or a ruin. It's a conduit, a gateway. The Ankhari built these structures to harness the eternal flow, a current of time that moves through all things. They sought to transcend mortality, to merge with the flow, and become one with time itself." "And did they succeed?" Luna asked cautiously. "In a way," he murmured, stepping closer. "They bound themselves to this world, to this pattern. They became echoes, presences that slip between moments, existing and not existing. But it came at a cost, one that even I cannot fully comprehend." Luna's gaze hardened. "What do you want?" Sefer's smile was enigmatic. "The same as you, I imagine. To uncover the truth, to understand what the Ankhari found, and to prevent a catastrophe that could unravel not just this world, but the very fabric of time itself." Luna and Sefer moved through the labyrinth together, their path illuminated only by the flickering glyphs. The chambers twisted and turned in impossible ways, angles that defied logic, distances that stretched and contracted at random. Every wall bore symbols, mathematical formulas, and astronomical diagrams that shifted subtly, as if alive. They encountered the first trap in the Hall of Mirrors, a vast chamber where reflections of themselves shimmered and multiplied endlessly. One false step and a shimmering wall of light split the chamber in two, separating them. "Don't move," Sefer called out, his voice reverberating oddly. "The labyrinth doesn't just test your body, it tests your mind. The reflections are distortions, projections of your future self. Step into the wrong one and you'll be trapped in a time loop, reliving the same moment for eternity." Luna scanned the reflections, searching for the pattern. Each one flickered at a slightly different frequency, the distortions rippling like water. She saw herself, older, wearing different outfits. One with short hair, another limping, a scar over her left eye, but one stood still, perfectly aligned with her current state. "That one," she whispered, and stepped through. The distortion dissolved, the chamber settling back into its original configuration. Sefer watched her with a faint smile. "You're quicker than most," he murmured, then turned and led the way deeper into the labyrinth. But as they moved forward, the corridors began to twist, the floor shifting beneath their feet as if alive. Luna glanced back and felt a shiver run down her spine. The walls were closing in, narrowing with each step. She quickened her pace, but Sefer moved with unflinching calm, his gaze fixed ahead. "Don't let it distract you," he said softly. "The labyrinth senses fear. It feeds on doubt. Every thought of turning back, every hesitation, it strengthens the path's resistance." The symbols on the walls began to pulse, their rhythm accelerating as if responding to Luna's quickening heartbeat. For a moment, she saw an image flicker, a glimpse of herself trapped in a small, dark room, alone and suffocating. She blinked, shaking her head to clear it. This place, it wasn't just testing their bodies or minds, it was testing their will. She forced herself to breathe, keeping her mind focused. If the labyrinth reacts to thought, then maybe... She closed her eyes and visualized the path ahead, as clear, straight, and open. To her surprise, the walls seemed to shudder, hesitating for a brief second before retracting. "Impressive," Sefer murmured. "But don't get too comfortable. The labyrinth adapts. The deeper we go, the more it will test us. And there are some things even here that do not obey any rules." They emerged into a vast domed chamber filled with a holographic star map. Thousands of constellations glittered in the air, connected by thin lines of golden light. As Luna stepped forward, the entire map shifted, the lines rearranging to form a new constellation, a sprawling diagram that pulsed with energy. The Ankhari were obsessed with aligning their monuments to specific celestial frequencies. Sefer explained, "Each structure is a node in a larger network, stretching across space and time. This map, it's more than a guide, it's a key. Each point represents a temporal anchor, a place where reality is thinner." Luna's eyes widened as the stars shifted again, revealing a hidden pattern. Ankhari outposts scattered across the galaxy. One pulsed brightly, located in a region she recognized. "This can't be right," she breathed. "That's..." Earth Sefer nodded. "The eternal flow touches many worlds." The Ankhari reached further than even they realized. The Eye of Anhur is merely one piece of a much larger puzzle, a nexus point that, if activated, could link every temporal node across the universe. But as she studied the map closer, she noticed something troubling. The temporal anchors weren't just points of connection. They were intertwined with the very lifeblood of each world. Altering one would trigger a feedback loop, amplifying or diminishing energies that governed everything from gravity to the passage of time itself. "It's like a delicate balance," Luna whispered. "If we tamper with the Eye of Anhur, it could shift the equilibrium of entire planets." Sefer's expression grew serious. "And if the balance tips too far, it won't just destabilize time, It will change the very nature of reality in those places. Gravity could reverse, entropy could accelerate, even the fundamental forces might break down. Luna stared at the map, her pulse quickening. The stakes were higher than she'd imagined. It wasn't just about time or history. They were dealing with forces that shaped the universe itself. "We have to be careful," she murmured. "One wrong move, and entire worlds could become unrecognizable." Sefer's gaze met hers, intense and unwavering. "Then let's hope we're as good as we think we are." They stood in the heart of the pyramid, before the massive crystalline sphere suspended in its web of golden energy. The Eye of Anhur pulsed softly, its rhythm almost like a heartbeat. The veil shift was hours away, and already its energies were stirring, crackling through the air with a palpable tension. Sefer turned to Luna, his expression somber. "This is it. The eye is both a key and a lock. Activate it, and you could control the flow of time itself. Open gateways to any point in history, any reality. But if you do, you'll release the eternal warden." "The warden," Luna murmured. "A being of pure temporal energy, bound here to guard the eye." "Yes," Sefer said softly. "A creature older than the Ankhari themselves. If it's released, it will tear through reality, unraveling everything it touches. But if the eye is destroyed, the Ankhari's knowledge, their entire civilization, will be lost forever." Luna hesitated, staring into the crystalline depths of the eye. She could feel it, a pulsing energy, a power that promised unimaginable possibilities. But the price? What choice should she make? The glyphs on the walls shimmered, forming a riddle. That which begins must end, and that which ends must begin. To open the way is to seal it forever. She closed her eyes, heart racing. Was the risk worth the reward? Time was running out.